Dominic and I know may seem like a shock, but we're opposite. I mean, complete opposite, except for our Catholic upbringing, which is very important, obviously, to have that in common, and our Italian-American heritage. He's not only a little bit country, he's total country. I'm not a little bit of rock and roll, as Marie and Donna used to say, but I am disco, R&B, Casey and the Sunshine Band, Latin American dancing, you name it. But we're also opposites in a good way, because the qualities that I need, Dominic has. Organization, a mathematical mind. He's the CFO of my communications company. I could never do it. I say I can't be overdrawn. I still have checks left. Right? But more than that, the one thing actually that we did have in common was the fact that we grew up in a time of the yuppies, young urban professionals. And the world, you know, that idea of that jarred spaghetti sauce and that image of the relationship, the jarred sauce was, okay, here are the ingredients: money, success, your goals, your first house, doing what you're supposed to do, being happy, going to all the right places, and being happy in the sense of a materialistic worldview. And we bought into that hook, line, and sinker, and slowly drifted away from God. No support system, and God was not in our relationship. However, he was always there working in the background, because there were people who came into our lives along the way that witnessed to us, even though at the time we didn't know it. We know he was always there, especially because of what happened with Dominic on April 23rd, 1989.
That date is so significant for me and for Teresa. It was a Sunday morning, and because we weren't going to church regularly at the time, the phone rang and we were home to answer it. And it was Teresa's boss inviting us to a Pistons basketball game, and their tickets were really hot items in Detroit at the time. But even though, and I love basketball, we were having really a hard time in our marriage. Things were really rocky. And I really didn't want to go to the game. I just wanted to spend some quiet time at home, but trying to patch things up. But when the boss calls and invites you to a game, how do you say no, right? So we figured, okay, well, we'll go. At least I'll see the Pistons. We had great seats, and we had a great time at the game. Afterward, back at Teresa's boss's house, we were just sitting around talking, having a few drinks, and Gene, her husband, asks me out of the blue, so what do you do on Monday nights? Now, I don't know what I answered, probably something like Monday Night Football or something like that. And he said, so how'd you like to join a men's Bible study? I said, yeah, sure. That sounds like a good idea. And I remember freezing in my tracks, and I wanted to look over my shoulder and say, who just answered for me? I now know it was the Holy Spirit jumping in before I had a chance to go into engineer mode and say, well, let me think about it and get back to you, and then just never do. So I figured, here's what I do. I'll go for a couple of classes, and there's this fade out, so make it look good. Teresa won't lose face with the boss, things like that. We started studying the Old Testament, and at the same time, most importantly, I learned about Jesus. I started reading about this Jesus who was real, who loved me. I'm starting to learn how to become a Christian man and bring that into my marriage. What it meant to live a Christian life, to have a relationship with Jesus. And it changed my life. That Bible study was the beginning of changing everything for me and for Teresa and us as a couple. But here's the not so funny part, but the encouraging part, if you will, especially for anybody going through difficulty. Things got worse when I was in that first couple of years of Bible study, because I really felt the devil knew what was going to happen if we continued on that road. And that's when we separated twice, when I was in Bible study. I'm thinking, Lord, I'm getting closer to you, and my marriage is even crumbling even more. There's a verse in Psalm 81 that I always remember, especially in difficult times. It says, this is God speaking to the psalmist. He says, you called in distress, and I saved you. I answered, concealed in the storm clouds. God is so often present in our struggles. He's so often there when we're having difficult times. And we can learn so much if we have the courage to look back on those times and see how he was there for us and helped us through it.